Within Acts chapter 10, we find one of the strangest and ugliest incidents in the New Testament. St. Peter, while staying at Simon the tanner's house in Joppa, goes to the roof to pray. And while doing so, he enters a trance and sees heaven opened, and a certain vessel like a great linen sheet being lowered to the ground by its four corners. Upon this are all kinds of four-footed animals, reptiles and birds. Then a voice from heaven speaks, issuing three commands. Get up, Peter, kill and eat. Peter protests, saying he has never eaten anything impure or unclean, to which the voice responds, do not call anything impure that God has made clean. This all happens 3 times, after which the sheet is taken back to heaven and Peter awakens from his reverie. While there has been much analysis of this vision, no one has extrapolated its full meaning or significance. It stands out as one of the most inadequately analysed incidents in the New Testament. But to my mind, it is also the most revealing, for it shines a light upon some nefarious methods at play within Acts of the Apostles, and I shall use it to unmask and draw out a virus that infects the soul of Christianity. But before delving into these issues, let us first consider how to appropriately entitle this incident. The title Wikipedia uses is Peter's vision of a sheet with animals, and this can be found in various other commentaries also. But being as this just refers to what Peter sees without any denotation of the vision's meaning, I find this label unsatisfactory. A slightly better title is the vision of the unclean beasts, as mentioned in the Geneva Study Bible from 1560. This highlights the fact that the vision is interpreted by Christians as a divine command to reject Old Testament dietary laws known as kashrut. These classify certain foods as kosher or fit for consumption and others as non-kosher or not fit for consumption. While it is true that kashrut plays a role in the vision, reducing its significance solely to this aspect fails to capture the vision's true essence. There is much more to it than a mere discussion of what is permissible to eat. In fact, I would argue that labeling it primarily based upon this aspect is misleading and overlooks its deeper meaning. And so I've chosen to name the vision after the item that descends from heaven, because although the description is peculiar, I believe Luke, the traditional author of Acts, is referring to something quite specific. He first describes this item as a certain vessel. The term vessel only makes sense when we read to the end of the verse. It is let down upon the earth, bound at its four corners. Thus, the sheet is being used as a sackcloth, it is being used to carry and transport goods, in this case, the menagerie of all animals. But I do not think this is its primary significance or purpose. This is better alluded to in Luke's second descriptive detail, this, that it resembled a great linen sheet. While considering the command to kill the animals, reptiles and birds, I pondered whether the sheet could be a slaughter blanket. Slaughter blankets are used by butchers to catch and contain blood spillage. Of course, linen in its natural state is highly absorbent, but it can be treated for waterproofing, and throughout ancient and medieval times, treated linen was the preferred tent fabric. But again, I just don't think this is what Luke has in mind. Instead, I believe he is speaking about a cloth upon which one consumes a meal. He is describing divine napery. As it was customary in biblical times to have meals on a cloth spread on the floor rather than on a table, I considered identifying the item as a picnic cloth. However, upon further investigation, I discovered that the Hebrew word for a table, shulchan, at its root means a mat spread on the ground. Therefore, I concluded that the most appropriate identification of this item is as a tablecloth. This connection was also noted by Matthew Poole in 1669 in his Synopsis Criticorum, wherein he writes, "The sheet here spoken of bears an analogy to a table and tablecloth amongst us. By great linen sheet, or othenen megalen in the original Koine Greek, Luke is employing a metaphorical representation of a universal tablecloth that has been divinely spread by God for a communal meal. All of humanity is invited, and nothing should be considered forbidden or off limits for consumption. All aspects of life on earth are to be embraced as dinner. So henceforth I will refer to this incident as the tablecloth vision." I earlier described this vision as one of the ugliest incidents in the New Testament. This because its figurative and symbolic nature is grotesque and horrific. This is evident when we put ourselves in Peter's shoes, so to speak, and envisage the divine ordinances in a literal sense. In particular, the command to kill all the animals presented. This bothers me. So let us imagine a scenario in which Peter, instead of questioning or objecting, obediently carries out the massacre requested of him. Is he supposed to kill all these animals with his bare hands? Or perhaps, in this alternative storyline, a helpful angel could hand him an axe or some other weapon. Whatever the case, the spectacle is hideous. I realize there is an absurdity to this literal interpretation of one particular command, but this grotesque scenario does highlight the scale of the violence envisioned by the author, and it underscores my contention that the tablecloth vision is highly problematic. Indeed, in my experience, many Christians also see it as incompatible with their understanding of God's character and teachings. Thank you for listening.